last year I beat cancer.
Wow.
Internet trolls, seriously, they're about as much trouble to me as a cloudy fucking day. And that is the kind of strength you get from adversity. It is true that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And there is strength on the other side of trauma that is unguessed at by people afraid of the trenches.
Yeah.
And that is a gift that you get from adversity. Strength is a muscle. It hardens with resistance.
Yeah. It's
I mean, your mom ran from her difficulties, which means she will never change.
but a boy. I knew that a while ago. She wasn't.
Right.
She's always victimized herself. If it wasn't for and not my stepdad, but my actual dad. He's not street smart, but man, does he put himself out there. I mean, he basically helps me pay the rent every month. Does everything he can to help me out, and this is my half sister that comes over to his house every day to eat his food, and he says, "Look, at the end of the day, she's a kid. It's not her fault for the situation she's in, and I can't treat her indifferently to that." And it's it's crazy how much support he gives us in that sense. But it's the complete opposite with my mom, which is just poison. And
Yeah. Adversity also, I tell you, adversity is like carpet bombing false relationships.
mm,
When you face significant adversity in your life, whether it's what you're facing or illness or financial ruin or you name it, what happens is there is a great sunlight that causes indifferent or false friends to scurry into the darkness away from you. And I'm forever grateful to the degree to which my illness and the chemo and the battle back to health, I'm forever grateful at the degree to which that helped me figure out who my friends were. Friends are, when the shit comes down, friends are the people coming in the door, not the ones drifting out.
yeah, that's true. I mean, how are you doing now with your cancer? Are you completely cured, or what was the situation?
Cancer is a tough thing to say you're cured because the
Oh, yeah,
recurrence
of course.
is always a possibility, but I am certainly completely symptom-free.
Well,
And I go in for my 3-month checkups, and I get felt up in the least romantic way you can imagine. And everything seems to be fine. And life is a beautiful and wonderful and magical thing. And I am almost completely without fear. So it's almost like the future will benefit from my tumor.
that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I feel that there's nothing to hold back on anymore.
mm,
Like Walter White survived cancer. You go pretty fucking hardcore.
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. I mean, I was thinking about my situation, and I was watching Breaking Bad the other day, and I was just thinking, I mean, at least, I don't have anything wrong with me health wise. I can sort of, whatever it is, I can sort of get through it regardless. That's not an issue. So, I mean, it's trying to put things into perspective, I guess. But I guess you've sort of done that for me.
Yeah, and so this doesn't always help when you're in the throes of dealing with incredibly challenging stuff as you're dealing with. But the joy that is on the other side of adversity is like 1% less than the adversity. Right? I mean, if it was more, we'd go out and seek out adversity. But it's like 1% less than the
Yeah.
adversity is the joy and contentment and connection. There is nothing like deep tragedy to break your habit of wasting time and withholding truth. And this is going to permanently change how you relate to people. It's going to permanently change your perception of what it means to be connected to someone. It's going to permanently change for you what it means to love and to be loved, to support and to be supported.
Mm.
And your former life will seem a bit distracted and dreamlike, I think. Because you will actually have realized that for most of your life, you've only been pretending to dance with ghosts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is it will cure you of any desire to work both sides of a relationship. In other words, for me, and I think this is a deep enough experience that it's common, though of course I never want to tell other people what they experience. But for me, I am very patient now when it comes to seeing what people can bring to the table. I know what I can bring to the table in relationships with friends and others. I know what I can bring to the table. And before, because I have so much energy and focus and value for people, I'd be more than willing to make the relationship 70% or 80% or 90% my effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, not a bit. I'm patient enough and relaxed enough in a way to be curious about what people are bringing to me, rather than trying to focus on the value I can bring to them. And that is greatly enhanced my friendships and my marriage, my relationship with my daughter. We were talking about happiness today. I've been doing some research on happiness. And I was trying to explain to her about the concept of happiness as a mean, as something in the middle. The Goldilocks, right? Not too hot, not too cold. This one is just right. You know, one piece of chocolate is nice. 100 pieces of chocolate, not nice. Actually, I had to sort of explain to her why that wouldn't be nice. But happiness is often in the mean. And I said, so for instance, like I said, so what makes you the happiest? And she said, waking up to see you and mommy. And boy, just melts you. It just melts you. It just melts you. And that is necessary for my relationships now, whereas in my relationships in the past, I was willing to crank uphill on a bicycle built for two while the other person was smoking cigarettes and making phone calls. And now you pedal or get off in my relationships. And I think that will happen to you. When you're young, you don't need people very much. And I mean, I've never been sick in my life. I've never spent a day in a hospital. I still have my wisdom teeth. I've never broken a bone. I've never really needed anyone. When you get sick and you're a parent, and the illness was not the cancer, the illness was the chemo, right? Chemo was brutal.
Mm.
And you need people. And when you really, really need people, then you find out who sees you. You find out who understands your needs. You find out who's got a bone or two of kindness in their selfish skeleton. And that has been greatly clarifying for me. You know, I've had people contacted me. This blows my mind. I've had people contact me. I guess it was about a year ago that I was finishing up the radiation treatment. And over the last, 6 or 7 months, I've had people contacted me. People I used to know, people who've been to my house and part of this show. People contact me and say, I need you to do something for me. I need something. I need a conversation. I need some money. I need this. I need that. Now, in the past, let me help you out. Now, God Almighty. Oh, you need something, do you? You know, I was facing death last year. Didn't hear from you at all. Didn't get a phone call. Didn't get an email. Didn't get a Skype. People I spent dozens of hours in conversations with and helped. And it's just immensely clarifying. It's immensely clarifying. You know, the year that I was facing dying on my daughter. Yeah, I could have used more support than I got from the people I mistook for friends. I could have died on my daughter and my wife. And so with all that tragedy, with all that anxiety, with all that fear, well, I am not the same as I was. I am burned free of debris. I am clean. I am supersonic. I am streamlined now. And that is what gets burned away when you walk through that fire. All the debris, all the takers, all the insubstantial people, all the people whose values are in their words and not their hands. All the verbalizers, all the sophists, all the takers. Whatever survives the nuclear bomb can be taken down by no one. And yes, that is a radiation metaphor for those keeping track of my metaphors. But yeah, I mean, it's a Gandalf the White thing, you know. He falls down with the Balrog and he comes back white, otherworldly, and almost infinitely strong.
Level up.
Yeah, that's right. Level up. Level up. And we don't want disasters, of course. I mean, we're biological. We prefer the safety and security. But with safety and security, comes a laziness in the necessary cleansing of your house that is required if you're doing more than the average. And that is something that's hard for people to understand who haven't gone through what you're going through, who haven't gone through what I've gone through, and what lots of other people have gone through. But you get stripped of distractions when you are basically toppling over your own fucking grave. It's you and the coffin. And the coffin is inhaling, and you are a feather. You don't even have a wing. It's will that keeps you out of that moor that leads to the center of the earth, called only in other people's memories do you continue. And I was going to be goddamned if I was going to get drawn into that portal during a time of my greatest loves, my greatest attachments, and my greatest capacity for world-saving fertile thought and communication. Oh, I was going to be goddamned if I was going to let a bunch of random bastard cells cut me down in my prime. So what I'm saying is I got a hell of a lot more than a tumor removed.
Yeah, I can kind of get that now.
My tumor was like those sleeves in those magicians where they keep pulling the kerchiefs out. My tumor was like the Volkswagen in the circus where the clowns keep coming out. Pull out the tumor and keep pulling and keep pulling and keep pulling, and all this stuff just keeps coming out.
Yeah.
Shitty friends, distractions, fear, anxieties, the desire to withhold like I'm going to keep my cards because there's some prize. when you die if you don't give everything you've got.
You got a lot more than you didn't sign up for, apparently.
Yeah, if you're going on a long hike, you ration yourself. But when you're facing that giant fucking shark mouth of a coffin, and it's getting closer and closer, and you cannot get out of the water, you get that you're going to die whether you say what's on your mind or you don't. And there's no prize for the unsaid. No bonuses for all the words you die with in your head and in your heart. They're not chips you can then cash in some afterworld casino. And that aspect of no prize for the unsaid has been a very driving force for me since last year. And I've always been focusing on trying to push the boundaries of human communication and push the boundaries of what it means to speak and to listen and to connect with people. But since last year, I want to die utterly empty of words. I want to die like a spendthrift with not even one penny left in the vault. I want to spend my capacities so gloriously that I want to redefine what it means to have and hear language. And people who haven't faced those bullets, like that guy in Pulp Fiction, Samuel L. Jackson's character.
Yeah.
The bullets just go all the way around him, right?
Yeah.
And it changes his whole life. Well, I stood underneath a crate of knives that fell from the skies, and all around me was a shadow of blades that missed. If you haven't experienced that, and it's annoying to talk about it, but if you haven't experienced that, then it's hard to know what strength you're capable of. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I want other people to get the strength without having to have the cancer, right? To bring back the afterlife. I went with my daughter to a water park, and it was just an unbelievably sunny day. And water parks are a lot of fun. And the thought hit me very strongly that I absolutely have no guarantees that I didn't die on the operating table last April in America, and that everything after this has been the afterlife. I mean, it's not true, but as an interesting thought experiment. But if it were true that I died and this is the afterlife, I'm very glad that it's the greatest heaven I could imagine. It's my days since my deliverance, since the shower of blades parted above the air over my head, my days have been paradise. Glorious. It doesn't mean I don't stub my toe. It doesn't mean I don't occasionally get frustrated. But when the sword only takes off the tip of your ear Air is like wine. All food tastes good. And all love is beautiful. All sex is glorious. All hugs are a connection to this world of almost infinite beauty. And so the trials that you're facing will leave you an elementally uncluttered human being. And that's the only comfort that I can give you for what you're going to be facing, which is going to be rough.
Yeah, wow. So it gets worse before it gets better, basically.
Yeah, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It's not an oncoming train.
Yeah.
That's the best I can offer you, and I hope it helps. And I also hope that you'll keep us posted.